Thanks for tuning in to the Bring Joy podcast. We're in season 5 and it's all about baseball. Talking big leagues to the little leagues, Yankees to the Conks, and everything in between. I'll share my joy for the game with you. And whether you're a fan of baseball or good storytelling, you'll be entertained. And each episode will bring a little joy to your day. So sit back and relax. Let's do this thing. Welcome to the Bring Joy podcast. Doug Mientkiewicz, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm real good. Thanks for being here. Let me tell you a little story to set the table for our conversation. So it was about 4 months ago, Conk Baseball put out their schedule for the year. And it said March 14th and 15th is championship weekend. So I say, I got to do an episode on champions. The very next thought in my head is I got to talk to Doug Mientkiewicz, because if there's anybody who knows about being a champion in baseball, it's you, Coach.
I've said this for a long time. I've been in the right place at the right time a lot of times. So I've been fortunate to be picked up by certain teams or on the right club, and we've held the trophy a time or two.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of pictures in preparing for this interview. You with your hands in the victory position,
Oh, yeah.
That's an awesome deal there. You won at the high school level, state championship, national championship, all the way to the big leagues, World Series, Gold Glove winner. And for me, growing up in the 70s and 80s, the Olympics is a very big deal. So you're also a gold medalist, Coach.
Yeah, it was my dad. I'll never forget this. I went from AA to the big leagues in 1998. I skipped AAA. I spent all 99 in the big leagues and just get humiliated. I mean, I wasn't ready. I got off to a great start in April, and I just couldn't. When they adjusted to me, I couldn't adjust back, and I got kicked around hard and shattered my confidence. And I come back to spring training in 2000. And I have a great spring. First 10 days, I'm back to where I thought I was before, and they send me down. And I was heartbroken. And I never forget, my dad and my mom, both of them, they both looked at me and said, something good is going to come out of this. It just hasn't shown yet. And my confidence was completely shattered. I didn't think I was good enough to ever go back. And I had a great group of teammates in AAA at that year, because the cliff notes of it, the Twins had my first year in 99, my first full year in 1999, we had 19 rookies and only had a 25-man roster.
Wow.
The small market club's not going to be able to pay 19 guys at the same time. So they sent us back in different spurts to kind of break up so we don't all hit free agency at the same time. So I go to AAA, play with a bunch of great guys. And at one point, I had Todd Walker, who, if you're a college baseball fan, you know who that is. He played at LSU, was probably the best second baseman to ever play college baseball at LSU. David Ortiz, Torrey Hunter, AJ Pierzynski, we're all on the same. Casey Blake, the list goes on and on. We bludgeoned people to death in AAA, and we had such a good time doing it. And the Olympics roll around, and I was on the team in 1994 out of college, and my mom wanted me to play in the Olympics. So just like your household, the Olympics were huge in my family. We watched the 80 Olympic hockey team beat the Russians. My favorite player scored the winning goal against Russia from Toledo. So we would watch the Olympics like religiously. And my mom was heartbroken that I didn't make the team. And I signed pro in 95 and didn't go play in 96. And I tried to explain to her, Travis Lee at the time was probably the best amateur player going. He played first base, and that college team in 96 was probably the best amateur team ever assembled, and they didn't win. So I remember getting the call, and they told me I made the team. And I remember calling my mom, and I said, hey, it's not Atlanta, but if you're willing to take a 16-hour trip, I think we got tickets to the Olympics. And she was like ecstatic through the moon, and the rest is history. So it was one of the best experiences of my life, not only for me personally, but for my career. And Tommy Lasorda, rest in peace, Skip. Like, I literally, without him, I don't think I end up having a career in baseball.
What a story. I already get emotional. I get chills and tears. Read this book. I saw on another podcast that you recommended this book, A Miracle on Grass. And throughout the whole book, I'm getting chills and getting teary-eyed and hearing how they put that team together, because not only, so let's go back a little bit, because this is the first team that was going to be a pro team. Before that, it was built up of amateur players. So now they're going to go pro. And, that was the journey to build that team. What a challenge to get the leagues to give up the players. And
oh, yeah. My
tell
AAA team.
me about that.
My AAA team won 100 games, and we only played 144 games. So my AAA team, I think we had 6 guys driving 100 runs, and we had 4 guys over 30 homers. I hit 2-hole that year for them and had 97 or 98 RBIs. I hit 2, and I missed the last 11 games because of the Olympics. So, I pretty much cost our AAA coach, who was a lifer. He was like 70 years old at the time. All he wanted was a championship ring, and we would have gave it to him, but we ran into a guy named Albert Pujols, but that's a whole different story. But my AAA team should have won the whole thing. But if that book, literally, like, I learned so many things about that club. I mean, Jimmy Rollins didn't make it. We sent home CC Sabathia, and the story of that was we all get picked for this, and then you had to go back and forth whether your team was going to allow you to go, and if you weren't on the 40-man or whatever it was. So it was back and forth all the time. And CC, we had a bunch of exhibition games in Australia before the Olympics started, and CC threw I think a 3-hit shutout. He threw a complete game and like 80 pitches. He just shoved, and like he was 6 foot, whatever, 8, 280 pounds, and just it looked like he was a giant. And he just like, I don't know much about pitching, but I know that they don't hit that. So we really want that guy on the team. The long story short, Tom Minnesota wanted to put him in the bullpen, and Cleveland said no, send him back. So we lost CC Sabathia to go back to throw like 2 innings for Cleveland that year. So like the names on that list were crazy. And the funny thing is, my coach in AAA, we had our backup catcher, Marcus Jensen, was on my team in AAA with Salt Lake. And my manager told Marcus he made the team, but he didn't tell me. So I thought I didn't make it. So I was crushed. I mean, I was devastated. And I was like down in the dumps pouting. And then 2 days later, they called me back. They called him back and said, hang on. They didn't not say that I wasn't on the team. They were still deciding. There was another guy, I think named Mark Johnson, big power guy from the minor leagues. They were deciding on the 2. And to go one better, I had a great AAA year. I think at 340, 20 homers, almost 100 RBIs. And I only got 1 hit the exhibition games leading up. And I'll never forget this. I was 1 for 28 or something. The only hit I had was a homer to center field. I didn't hit many homers to center. So something was weird. And I didn't have a slump the whole entire year. I remember thinking Reggie Smith was our hitting coach. And he looked at me before our last exhibition game and he goes, Are you gonna start hitting? And I literally I was like, why would I want to start hitting now? They don't count. I go, trust me, when the bell rings, I'm gonna be fine. And inside I was dying because I was like, they're gonna send me home. If they just sent CC back, they're gonna send me back. And thankfully they kept me. And I got a hit my first at bat. We were facing Daisuke Matsusaka, who was pitching for Japan. He ended up coming over for the Red Sox for a long time. So we were facing Daisuke right out of the chute, and I got a hit and run broken bat single. And from there on out, everything went into slow motion, and everything I wanted to do with the bat happened. And it was probably the best 2-week span I ever had in my life as a hitter.
Yeah, I want to talk about some specific at bats because it couldn't be any more dramatic. One of the other things, if we back up just a little bit and you talk about deciding on those teams, is you had played for Team USA in college, correct?
Yes.
So that didn't hurt that you had that on your resume already.
Yeah, they wanted international experience because the Cuban team was pretty much the same Cuban team we saw in the Olympics. They wanted guys who had experience in international baseball, facing Cuba, the different rules. I think they did a fantastic job. Bob Watson, rest in peace, another great GM and great person. They did a really good job. I remember I met Roy Oswalt for the first time, and Roy ended up pitching 15, 16, 17 years in the big leagues. And Roy was 5'9", 5'10". I remember meeting him, and I was like, what position do you play? Second? Like, so you're a second baseman?
Right.
And he goes, no, I pitch. Like in the most southern draw accent. And I watched him throw the exhibition game, and I said, I am so deeply apologetic. I will never disrespect you like that ever again. And from that day forward, I called him Mr. Oswalt. And because I was like, this dude's nasty. We had him, Ben Sheets. So like the position players, they picked an older group. They picked older guys that had some savvy, had a little snarl to them. Me, Ernie Young, Mike Neal, Pat Borders. He was an MVP of the World Series. He was our catcher. So Brett Abernathy, they had some guys that have been around the block a little bit that weren't going to be intimidated. And I think that was the main focus of us, was like the Cubans they won by intimidation. And you might intimidate us as college kids, like in pro ball. You're not going to intimidate us anymore. And we had the arms this time to kind of shut them down, and we knew it. And we just thought, if we get a chance, if we can face them face to face for the whole shebang, we got a legit shot of taking this thing home.
You mentioned the snarl, and I've heard you talk about players that have grit. One of the questions I wanted to ask you was, and you were starting to answer it now, was what does it take to be a champion? So you're talking about matching up against the Cubans who dominated international baseball. And what is it about them that makes them so dominant at that level? And then what did your team have? I guess you were just alluding to that.
I mean, I think they were so good. I mean, I think a lot of teams, like I know in '94 we faced them, we played them 6 or 7 times. Like, it was a show. Like, I remember, like, I videotaped them, the old school giant VCR cameras. I brought my camera out to watch them take infield because I was in awe. I was like, these guys are just different. They're like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball, but they're good and they're phenomenal. And I remember, I think it was Omar Linares was their third baseman. And the Mariners offered him at the time, this was '94, I think they offered him $8 million a year just to play home games, not to travel, just to play home games. And that's how good this guy was. And I think as you play him, you're more in awe of him than you were trying to beat him. And I think as we got older and the competition got better, we kind of feel like you've been around the block a little bit in pro ball. You get to AAA, you see some dudes, you see some guys. And I just felt like a lot of us used that to kind of, we had the up and coming arms of the young prospects pitching wise that were making a name of themselves on the way up. And then there was us that maybe already had a taste of it, but kind of had it ripped away. And everybody had a different story of what the Olympics was and how they used it as a stepping stone. But the bottom line, we had the arms that we knew that wouldn't be afraid. Don't underestimate the Pat Borders effect, that the game calling that he had. Like, of course, these guys are 21, 22 years old, and this guy was an MVP of the World Series in the big leagues. You're going to ride with his game plan. Don't underestimate that part of it. Having that veteran presence that we desperately needed. They believed in what Pat put down, and man, they followed it to a T. And it's a win that I'll take to my grave with me.
I imagine you have the gold medal somewhere, right?
Oh yeah, it's at my parents' house.
That's really cool. And your mom and dad, you talk about your mom wanting that so bad for you. Were they able to be there?
Oh yeah. So, it's hard for me to talk about, not getting emotional, but probably the coolest thing for me was, getting the gold medal. We're all in the stand, and literally I put my head down and they placed it on my neck. And when I looked up, my mom and my dad were right in front of me, and I lost it like I'm doing now. It was the coolest thing. You start to think back of all the sacrifices your parents made for you to get you in this position. And, it was something that the pride that I felt that my parents were there to see that. My sister, her husband were there, and to look up directly across from me. And if you see videos of it, of singing the national anthem, I lost it. Like, I went through so much that year personally, and the emotional roller coaster of what happened to me to get there. And I knew how much it meant to my mom, and I knew how much it meant to my dad. So to finish it, the guys still give me shit about it. The guys on the team are like, "This is the happiest moment of my life. Why are you crying?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't think you get it. I don't think you get what the Olympics meant to my family." And we joked around too, not a joke, but it's like, gymnasts and some of the great gymnasts, they get 2 or 3 cracks at it if they're great, right? They get 2 or 3 cracks at going. We knew this is a once in a lifetime shot, and this is our only opportunity to have this chance to win a gold medal. And we didn't want to do everything we possibly could to win. And they not only did a great job of putting that team together, we bonded like no other. And I think it goes to, it kind of ties into today's game when everything's about numbers and analytics. And that team was built on nothing but what makes these guys tick. Like what, and they definitely could have found more talented position players than we were. But there was something that we had that you can't teach, you can't practice, that we just had so many things like that have been ripped from us I think every guy on that team has had somebody tell them they weren't good enough, they weren't fast enough, they weren't strong enough. And there's two ways you can do with that. You can either let it define you, or you can use it as a motivator. And the group of that had a, like I said, I keep going back to the word snarl. We had a snarl that, we were junkyard dogs, and you put us on the field together, we weren't going to take any shit. And there was a reason why that team pulled that off.
And I think one of the things I'm a fan. That's my claim to fame. I'm a fan, right? That's what I do. And I think why fans love champions is because champions have had some adversity, have had to overcome something. And it's so wonderful to root for somebody and see a champ overcome and answer the bell and respond to the moment, because that's the other part, right? Is you get up there and you have a moment. What do you do with it? Do you answer the bell? And champions do. Not everybody's a champion, Coach. No. That's why it's so special.
Champions get better in the dark. I say that to every team I have. I say it to Steele. Steele has heard me talk about that since he was 5 years old. Champions get better in the dark. They get better when no one's watching. They don't do it for accolades. They don't do it for recognition from their coach. They get better when you're sleeping and when you're not watching. We're grinding. And I always go back to Kobe Bryant, and he's got that. They're up 2-0 in the NBA Finals, and he looks like he's got no emotion. And then the media's like, "Why aren't you smiling?" He's like, "Job's finished. Job's not finished." And you're always looking for the next. We're not done yet. So, and I think my dad too. My dad has a lot to do with it. Has everything to do with it. My dad, every batting practice session I had, whether I was 3 years old or whether I was 35 years old, still playing in the big leagues, the last 5 swings of every BP round was bottom of the ninth. Your team's down a run, and they're second and third. What are you going to do? And I think by him putting me in that position, in that situation every day, over and over and over again, it became natural. And I think there's guys that want to do it, and there's guys that believe they're going to do it. And I always tell our guys, don't be the guy, be one of the guys, and you'll become the guy. And I think that's where my dad's preaching of that and going through that, where it became second nature, to where, like, I've seen myself get a hit in a situation for 35 years. It's going to happen. I tell Steele all the time, visualize on deck, the pitch coming in, you see it, you see the results. That way, when it happens, it's just a replay. So I think that set me up my whole life for that, to where those situations I've always learned how to, calm the mechanism and kind of live in the now. And this is my turn. This is what I want. The best compliment you can get as a player is, if the game's on the line, I want Doug up there. And I've heard of quite a few guys, and you can take the accolades, the rings, all the personal stuff out the window. I wanted my guys to want me at the plate when the game mattered the most.
So that leads me to two at-bats that we're going to talk about, Coach. The pool play, right?
Okay.
You're up to bat. It's the 8th inning. Mm-hmm. The bases are juiced.
Oh, yeah, 3-2.
Take
okay, so we're I think it might have been nothing. I don't think it was 0-0. We were facing underarm. Yeah. We were facing an underarm Korean guy. Korea, always in the Asian countries, if you don't have a dice K, Japan was more traditional, but Korea, those Taiwan type places, they try to trick you with arm angles. And so we were facing this guy that was literally throwing almost underhand. It was so submarine, it was almost underhand, and it was so unconventional, and we struggled with it. And it wasn't very hard. It was like 82, so we weren't used to it. And then they bring in the 9th inning, or the 8th inning rolls around, they bring in their closer. And he's 96, 97, but it's straight as an arrow. And I remember being up, and literally I could tell, and he threw me probably every pitch. I got to 3-2, 3 balls, 2 strikes, and every pitch, and I didn't swing once. Every pitch was either like right on the corner or right off the corner. I could see it, and I knew it out of his hand. I knew it was a ball. And 3-2, it creeped back over the plate, and I murdered it. I mean, I absolutely murdered it. And I always say this, that one was more of an aggression kind of like jog and bat flip and everything, because I was like, this guy's nibbling. And I was in a win-win situation, in my opinion. I was like, He's either going to walk me or I'm going to get a hit. I'm not going to get an out. And if I make an out, someone's going to die. Basically, if they're going to catch it, I'm trying to hit a ball through somebody's.
And this is all happening in your mind while you're up there.
And I was picking up the ball right away, and I knew it like the second I left his fingers, ball off the plate, a little bit on, a little bit off. Got to 3-2, and it wasn't off. It was right where I wanted it. And if I could have called timeout and said I want it 95 right here, I clicked it. I mean, I clicked it good, but more of a line drive, and the guys kind of mobbed me at home plate. It was like Bash Brothers, and we're kind of, and I literally like, damn, that just happened. And that one was more of like it was a big moment because we haven't scored yet, and it kind of every game out there kind of gave us a little bit more momentum to where we're like, all right, we're getting pretty good. We're getting pretty good. So that made us, I think, 3-0 or 4-0.
Yeah,
so,
I think it was.
And we kept coming back from behind. I know we came from behind against Japan. And we had the lead in the ninth. They tied it, and we ended up hitting a walk-off homer. So we had some, like Mike Neal hit a walk-off homer against Japan. We had some big hits. That made us 4-0, and Cuba's around the corner, and we run into them, and we get our head beat in a little bit. We try to fight them instead of trying to beat them on the field. But, we end up facing them again 2 days later, Korea, for the semifinal game, and it was such a different feeling. It's one of those games where it's rainy, it's cold. Whoever put the Olympics in Sydney, the Summer Olympics in Sydney during September, didn't really think it through because it was really cold. I mean,
we couldn't watch it back home.
Right.
In regular time.
It was cold. I mean, it was 40, 45 degrees. And I remember leading up to that, we lost to Cuba. Cuba ended up losing the Netherlands the next day, and we're pissed. We're like, damn, well, we didn't want them to lose. So we get to the semifinals. We're matched up against Korea. Cuba plays Japan. Well, Cuba throws their ace against Japan, and we're watching it in the village. And all of our guys, every guy on that team was hoping Cuba won. Like, please let Cuba win.
Because you want Cuba.
If you're gonna do it, you got to someone's got to knock the king off the pedestal. And
right, because we're in the gold medal. Just to make sure everybody's still following. We're right. in the medal. We're in the medal round at this point. Where we're talking about. Okay.
And the medal round, and we knew that if we're going to get the respect that we wanted when we left San Diego, one, we got to win the gold medal, and two, we got to dethrone the king, and we wanted Cuba. And so we're, Jose Contreras threw game one for Cuba. He ended up pitching the big leagues for the Yankees and the White Sox. So we wanted, and they were like, first of all, we were like disrespected because they threw Contreras against Japan. So that told us that they thought Japan was more of a threat than we were. I'm like, okay. So we're all cheering. Like,
so another chip on your shoulder.
Right. We're like, come on. So when Cuba won, they won 3-0. And we were like laser focused. Like, all right, it's lining up perfect. We go to our game, and it's cold and rainy, and it's miserable. It's misty. And we fall behind, and we're facing the same sloppy, underhand guy. I think they scored on a couple of booted plays, and they're beating Roy Oswalt. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, are you telling me we're going to lose to Korea? And so it's a night game. Our game's a night game. So now we knock the sidearm guy out. They bring in a lefty to face me, and I hit a single. And the joke of the whole story is Mientkiewicz was our third baseman. I think he pulled every muscle in his lower body. He got hit by pitch. I hit a single so not only was I think he beat out a swinging bunt. Now, mind you, it's been raining all night. So now it's muddy. And there's no turfus over there. There's no tarp. So it's sloppy. I mean, you can't even
there's a 2-hour rain delay. Is this before
right.
or
this is before the rain delay. So it's a muddy mess.
Okay.
So Mientkiewicz has a swinging bunt. Third baseman fields it, throws him out, calls him safe. So that's one time he was out. The next time, I think they throw over once, he gets picked off, they call him safe again. I hit a single to right, and he goes from first to third, and I think he pulled both quads while he ran to third. And as he got to third, he slid past third, and they tagged him, and his hand was off the base, and they called him safe. So he got out 3 times around the bases. I'm like, guys, it's fate. We're winning. So Marcus Jensen gets a sac fly. We tie the game 2-2 going into the 9th or 8th or 9th, and we load the bases, and we got Mike Neal up. It was like one of our hottest hitters, and we got bases loaded, 1 out. We score a run, the game's over, and then the heavens open up, and there's the 2-hour rain delay. So now we're sitting in the clubhouse. It's not like the States. There's no dryer. There's no nothing. And we're sitting there, and now it's what?
Wet uniforms.
11, miserable, cold. It's 11:30, 11:45. Mike Neal must have taken 400 swings in the cage to prepare for this at bat.
Because he's still up the bat.
He's at the plate. And in the back of your mind, you're knowing, like, if we lose this game, we got to turn on and play at noon tomorrow. So it's already 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. We go back out. Mike Neal hits a ground ball, number to the third baseman. They throws it home, and our runner, I think it was Brett Abernathy, like illegally leg whips the hell out of the catcher. So they called a double play. So we go into the next inning. We get 3 outs. We come back, and Mike Kincaid walks, and I'm on deck. And Tom Minnesota walks over to me, and he goes, Dougie, if he gets on, we're going to bunt. And I said, Skip, I don't care. I said, just get me the hell out of these wet clothes. I want to go home. I'm emotionally drained at this point. I can't even think straight. I said, whatever you need, Skip. So Kincaid walks. They pinch run him. Gookie Dawkins pinch runs for him. So first pitch, I get the bunt sign. Lay down, go to bunt, ball 1, pull it back. Look down. Ernie Rodriguez gives me the bunt sign again. I'm like, all right, cool. Bunt, pull back, ball 2. And I look, and like our signs were, if he finished working his way down his body, it's a bunt, right? You want to lay the bunt down. If he finished working up his body, it was hit and run. So now I'm like hitting and run. I'm like, 6, sweet. So 2 hit and run, foul ball. Now it's 2-1. I look down. Erod gives me up sign again. I'm like, we're rolling again. I love it. Time to let's roll the dice, baby. Guy picks over to first, and Gookie gets picked off. And it was like such a momentum shift. And I remember thinking, like, as Tommy's arguing out there, he walks out there. It took him forever because he took forever to walk across the field. He's walking. The umpires from Cuba, he don't understand a word Tommy's saying. So they're arguing back and forth. And I remember the first instant of my head was, well, cool, I don't have to hit and run anymore. Like, I don't have to bunt. I don't have to hit and run anymore. And as he was going over there, I remember it was a sidearm righty. And I remember, and during the argument, I kind of stepped out and I thought, like, how have I elevated a ball against a right-handed sidearmer in my life? And I was like, I go get an off-speed pitch and get out in front of it and see what happens. And to this day, I can see it. I saw the ball come up out of his fingertips. From his fingertips, I saw the ball pop up. And the crazy part is he had 16 written on his hat. I was number 16. The ball came up out of his hand, and the second I saw it pop up out of his fingertips, I went in my head, I went, holy shit, put a good swing on it. And it was a changeup. It popped up out of his hand. I got out in front of it, and I launched it. And I just remember thinking, like, when I'm standing there at home plate, I remember all the bat flips they have today that I don't like in the game. I threw the bat as hard as I could and as far as I could straight up. And I remember thinking, like, running to first, I was like, holy shit, that really just happened. Like, I just blacked out. Like, what just happened? Like, I saw it come up out of his fingertips, and everything that I just told myself to do, it happened. And I was running on the bases going, I can't believe that just happened. So I obviously get mobbed at home plate, and I'll never forget because they carried me off the field. They picked me up, and Ben Sheets was standing there. And Ben Sheets was the starting pitcher for the next game. He was our ace. And he hugged me and he goes, you just won us a gold medal. Because he's pitching the next day. And I was like, all right, Sheetsy, I believe you, buddy. Like, go do your thing, Bubba. Go do it. And so that was, I said, I'd see it. I don't have to watch the video anymore. I know it. I've replayed it. I've seen it a million times. That still picture will ride with me to my grave, where I can see his release point and I can see the ball come up out of his fingertips.
Incredible to be in that moment and playing it through in your head, right? I've seen this pitch. I've been here before. I've seen so many guys strike out on a curveball, though, because most of them don't hit it over the wall. In the Olympics.
It was a changeup. Oh, it was a changeup. Like I said, I went from so bad to so good. And I told the boys last year at QS, I told Steele almost daily, I'm like, you're one swing away from feeling really sexy again. Just remember that. It can happen that fast. Yeah. And I, like, the broken bat hit and run I got off Dice K was my bat went in 500 pieces. It floated over the second baseman's head, and from that moment on, everything slowed down. And it was funny. There's so many similarities. Steele had a bloop hit in Cary that walked off. They had a walk-off winner, was a bloop to right, and he went off after that. And I just said, you never know. I go, let's that swing might make you famous, and they kind of got him going.
So I have that on my list here. It's like we've already talked. So and I'm gonna get emotional.
Okay, that's okay. That's what this does. The game will do it to you. When you're passionate, baby, emotions are a good thing.
So you talk about, the victory being carried off the field and in the Olympics, biggest moment, biggest stage in the world, right? We haven't even talked about the World Series. But last year, in 2024, what you're talking about right there, you're on the field as a coach and you see Steele get that. We walk off. We win that game. We needed that game. I wasn't there. I'm sitting here in the same spot listening on the radio to Rick Lopez, right? Mm-hmm. And he's going crazy. Hey, he's going crazy. But you looking out at Steele, that's pretty damn cool, right?
The whole experience, I know when Steele tore his knee the year before, I wanted him to play meaningful games in high school. And it's no disrespect to the place that he came from. I played against Key West in high school, and we were a rival. And I know what Weech does to you. I know what that feeling does. I wanted my son to feel that. And I said, Steele, you're going to a place. You put one good swing on a pitch, and you'll be remembered for the rest of your life. That's why we're making this move. And I really, truly felt like that team had a chance to win a state championship. And
so close.
And it's funny, that particular one, it was cold and blowing like crazy. And when it first came off the bat, I don't think I should repeat what I thought. I was like, what are you doing? And I got so mad, and I'm like, hang on a second. It's in play. And then I saw the right fielder kind of take a half step back. And I'm like, he jammed the shit out of him. I go, that's got a shot. And then when I saw it bounce, when he dove for it, my first instinct was I was like, Nelly, you better score. And kudos to Ralphie Jr. What a hell of a call. What a hell of a send. Keep them coming, baby. Because we talk about it all the time. Ralphie and I were talking about, hey, we got to start pressing the envelope here, man. We can't sit back. These guys need to make shit happen out here. We have to be able to do this. We have to do it on ourselves a little bit too. Let's get crazy aggressive and let's see what happens. And it was a great send by Ralphie. You could tell he saw it before it happened. And I know for Steele, it was kind of his exhale moment, I think, where it was he had a couple of them during the year, but it was a cool feeling because I know what it meant to him because he put so much pressure on himself to do well when he was there. And, I still swear, I still say to this day, we didn't see the real Steele didn't get shown in Key West. And, I told 17 from day one, when he was struggling in the beginning, I said, I've never seen him look like this. I said, but I know this. When we need him the most, he will be the toughest out we have. I know what makes that boy move. I know how I raised him. And when we need him the most, he'll be our toughest out. And Ralphie looked at me and he was like, I I might be bullshitting him just for confidence for my own boy. But I know his MO. I know what's inside that kid. And I know that when every playoffs we had in Coral Shores, we didn't have many. We had a couple games in there, but every district final game we got into, he never made an out. I said, when this shit gets real, he knows how to slow the damn thing down. And we go back to visualizing the double he hit against Gibbons that almost was a grand slam. I saw that.
There. I was there.
That. I saw that. I just saw it against Westminster. He had a shot at first and third against Westminster, and Nelly was at first. And I said, Nelly, he's gonna turn this 100-mile-an-hour fastball around into left center. He's gonna split the gap, and you better score. I said, I saw it. I just saw it on deck. I saw it. I saw the pitch. I saw the swing. And the funny thing is, he threw the pitch and Steele took it. And I said, when we got home, I said, You took the pitch. I saw you lacing in the guy. Go, you swing at that pitch right there. You lace that ball in the gap, and we win. And so I kind of baited him a little bit. And I'm like, hey, like that swing's coming. It's coming. Just remember that one swing. That's all I need from you. We need one swing. That's it. Just keep it simple. And it's pretty cool. His last at bat, I didn't want it to end, but his last swing was a meaningful one. He still has it on his phone.
It was huge. We love Steele. We didn't get enough of Steele. If I would have known he was up the road, I think I told you this before, I would have drove up there and got him. I thought he lived in California or something. I didn't know.
No, I will say this. I said, well, there's so many parallels to me and Steele. I transferred to Westminster my senior year. My mom didn't want me to do it. My mom was like, he doesn't have to have any friends, and it was the best move I ever made. My coach got fired over some BS, and I went into the meeting and I said, well, if he goes, I go. And they fired him, and I said, all right, we're going somewhere else. I don't know where. I didn't know what Westminster was. I knew it was a school, but I didn't know Coach Hoffman. I didn't know any of that stuff. So I ended up going there, and my mom said it was the best move we ever made. And I said, and Steele, it ain't gonna be easy, buddy. It's not gonna be easy. But when it's all said and done, I promise you're going to say, oh, you wish you went sooner. And the first thing he said was, Dad, I wish I had more than one track at this. And I said, I know. Because it's just a different feel. You guys, especially you and everybody else that comes to those games, you guys make it, you can't duplicate that. You can't. I mean, it's like, it's not, I go, you don't understand how fun that is and what you guys do every night. Those guys remember that for the rest of their lives. Like, it's so meaningful, and the way the town backs that group, and just the hometown pride that you don't get that unless you play Texas football, high school football in Texas. You don't get that. And I said, even Steele, Westminster, our games were scouts and parents. And we didn't have these crazy maniacs just going nuts every night. I go, what? They get on you a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, that's passion, bud. That's what you want. That's what makes the hard great, is when you play for places like that.
Well, we sure do love him, and I tell the kids this: we're fans for life. So whatever they do, whether they keep playing baseball or whatever they do in life, don't be surprised if Joy's behind them.
Oh yeah,
hooting and hollering and cheering for him. They give us so much to cheer for.
For me personally, too, I know the history. I know we're on 11. We're on 11 state championships. Westminster's on 11 state championships. And I know number 12 meant a lot to my boy for a lot of reasons. The back-to-back rehabs on his knee, and to do it before Westminster did it, and to do it together. I know there was a little bit like he wanted to one-up me, and I was totally fine with it. And I was like, you know what? He goes, I want to bring number 12 so bad with you wearing a different uniform, and we go ahead and beat you all like a steal. That's all I want, and that's why we made this move. And like it still haunts him to this day. It still keeps me up at night, knowing that we finished that game in Gibbons. It's a wrap. And but I just said, Steele, you got to stop worrying about number 12 and worry about the game in front of you. And I think when he finally did that, he started playing the way he knew how.
Yeah, we loved him when he came up to bat. He had intentions. And like you say, he was a tough out. And, there in the stands, we're fans, but we're baseball people too. We've been watching quality baseball forever. So, and when somebody steps up in the box, if they're ready to hit the ball, and he always had intentions. I go back to that Carey moment again in North Carolina, because that's the other thing, right? Is that we're at the USA Baseball Complex. Mm-hmm. Names all over the wall. And so for him, I imagine that moment has a whole different level of satisfaction. And there's pictures of him being mobbed by the conch team, and it's really cool. I hope I can find those pictures.
It was neat. I got a picture of him and little Jackie in front of a couple signs that I'll take to my grave too, because I've known little Jackie since she was a baby, and Jack has known Steele since he was a baby, so it had some meaning to it. And I know, and to do it, he had a really good carry. I mean, we faced two teams that in the beginning that were really good. I mean, we faced the number 8 pick in the draft the first day, and we faced a lot of quality arms that were going Division I, and Steele really did really well against them. And I think that was what, and I know it meant something to Steele to kind of to show out and carry not only against the competition but because of those factors. And I overlooked it I overlooked it as growing up, but I don't underestimate the expectations that he probably felt because of me. And I tried to do my best to never make him feel that way. I said, I don't care what you do, but there's one thing we're going to do is we're going to outwork everybody. I don't care what it is. I don't care what you do. But if you take one thing from me, is like you're never let someone else outwork you. And I think that's the thing I'm most proud of for him, is that I know what last year meant. And it was hard and it was difficult at times being away and kind of doing it on his own. He grew up fast, and he's got memories and I said, I go back to this. The day he blew his knee out in Coral Shores, he had one teammate at Coral Shores come to the hospital, and him and the AJ are really good friends. But the entire Conk team texted him, and I said, "There's your answer. There's your answer."
I got the two.
Those guys care, and they're different. I said, we're going to focus on getting your knee better, but I think you're going to be wearing red and white soon, and let's get right.
We're so glad that we got to see him, and he's always part of our legacy. That we'll always tell the story about North Carolina, because the offense came alive after that. We played that final third of the season really well, aggressive at the plate. Everybody was hitting the ball. And yeah, if we could have that Cardinal Gibbons game over, know we win it. Know we could win that game.
No doubt. I always say this too. I said that was the hardest part for 17 and Ralphie and I and Jack and everybody that's involved with it, was like, it's not only the fact that we lost, but it was the fact that like they started to get it. They just we started, and I get it. Like offensively, it's tough. We got some freshmen, Nelly, Roman. We had some freshmen, but Pichardo, Sammy had some struggles. Steele started really slow. Noah started slow, and it's like when that happens as an offense, everybody's trying to do so much.
Right.
And I finally think that we finally got some runs, and we started getting some momentum, and that was the hardest part for us. Is like we finally got them swinging the way they were possibly capable of, and we were getting better as the season went on. And that was the hardest part. That was the hardest part. Going, man, like I just want to see him play one more time. And I will say this: if we finish that Gibbons game, whoever we play at home the next game, it's a 5-inning affair. We beat the everlasting crap out of them. And whoever we roll after that, because Anthony didn't throw that great in the first game at home, and we snuck that one out. And I remember we went from dead as a doornail to walking them off, and then we're down 4 or 5 in the ninth and come back and win that one. I'm like, I looked at Ralph and I'm like, dang, like this shit's over, bud. Like I go, we get through this one. I go, I don't care who we play. Like they feel it. I told Ralph in 17, there ain't no way we're losing a home game. We're coming home after that, because you have little check marks and championship runs where you just don't think it's going well, and then all of a sudden, everybody wants to believe. Like they always, kids today think about the games they win 13-1. Where our generation was like, I want that game we're down 7-0 in the fifth and came back and won.
Yeah, right? That's the ones we talk about.
Those are the ones you want. Those are the ones that are memorable, right? So I'm like, we were dead as a doornail the first home game of the playoffs. And I go, all it takes is a spark. And I remember sitting there thinking, coaching first, going, this is how my son's high school career is going to end, against this. No disrespect to them, but I'm like, we play them 10 times, we beat them 9 times. I go, we're not losing tonight. And I looked at Ralph and looked at me and go, all we need is a spark. We need, right. I go, we need one thing to go our way, and all of a sudden, and then that's all it takes. And then we got it. And I was like, Ralph and I kept looking at each other going, we're close. Like, we're getting there. We're getting there. And that's the hardest part to swallow, the fact that I never got a chance to see that team play again. And that was the disappointing part of it.
Yeah, it was tough. I know as fans, we thought that last year was going to be the year for sure. I mean, we always think that, right? Every season we're like, it's this team, right? And if you don't, I don't want to know you, but that team was special. We've got such a young team now. You've been talking a lot with your coach's hat on, and you played for some legendary coaches. Tommy Lasorda, you mentioned already, Joe Torre, Mike Martin. Tell me what it takes to be a good coach. You're a coach. You've coached in the professional level.
You know what?
Talk to me about coaching.
It's never forgetting how hard the game really is. Never forgetting that. It's a tough one to battle every day. I remember having talks to parents and be like, I don't expect you to understand me. I'm gonna push your kid harder than you probably ever have, and it's not out of hatred, it's out of love. I'm gonna force him to. Growth only happens when you're comfortably uncomfortable, and my job is to make you uncomfortable for growth. I'd be foolish to not take something from every guy I played for, right? I played for Tom Kelly, who stressed defense and base running and little things, managed a bullpen better than anybody I ever saw. Joe Torre could defuse a bomb before it got lit. He was fantastic at it. Terry Francona, super calm, never, good demeanor, understood how to fix things. Ron Gardenhire, prankster, but fiery. And so you take bits and pieces of each one of them and you kind of mold it into your own. And the one thing I have learned as a manager is I've always learned that if you take what I always look at it this way, if I've had a team that wasn't as talented as the other or vice versa, my job is to take their game and throw it right back in their face because I can't handle it. And that's one of the things that I've learned. Herb Brooks was huge at it. The 80 hockey coach talked about it with you go back to the Russian hockey game when the United States won. His whole goal was to take the Russians' game and throw it right back in their face because they can't handle it. And that's how they won that game. So I always felt like I was very hard on my teams during the season. And in the playoffs, let them go. I've pushed and prodded and bitched and moaned and all the adjectives you can find. But when the bell rang for the playoffs, cut the leash and let them go. And understand that mistakes are going to happen. I told them every game, there are things that are going to happen in this game that are not going to go our way. In this series, not going to go away. It's not make or break. It's how do we respond to it?
Yeah.
It's who survives the biggest mistake. And the mistake is not the mistake that's made. The mistake follows after it, how you respond to it. That's where things get changed. And I always tell them, survive the first inning, and then it becomes a game. I told Anthony every start, survive the first. Emotional, you're coming out at home, you're running through the tunnel, you got you guys cheering them, going crazy. Survive the first. Just survive the first, and then you roll. And that's what I would tell Anthony. I told all the guys that I had at pro ball and playoffs and championship runs, and just survive the first, make it a game again, and we got you. So, I love it. I love the competition part of it. But more importantly, I love seeing kids get better. I love seeing it's not always easy. Teachers in the world that really care, it's frustrating. And yes, I show it. I know it. But it's only because I've seen them better. People would make fun of me all the time about how I would react when steel would hit. And I'm like, but when I don't see you doing your normal mistakes, something's wrong.
Right.
And that's where because I've seen you better, and I know you're not letting yourself put your best foot forward. And that's the hardest part. That's the one thing about baseball that makes it so tough, is because you see the work these kids put in. And now it's our job to find a way to get you to trust your work. Just trust your work. It's either I'm hard on my guys in practice. Either you need to learn how to practice how you play or play how you practice, because they're two different speeds. And you wonder why things change? I go, I always said this, my biggest attribute was being able to function when the world around me was burning down. And that's what makes elite coaches and elite players. When everything's in chaos, can you process the information and function? And that's kind of how I would try to run practice. I would try to create a Chinese fire drill to where when it happened in a game, it's just second nature and we just react.
Just like you were talking about that at bat when you hit the home run, right? Because you're getting the bunt sign, so you're thinking, okay, I just got to do a job and move this guy over, right? And then no, it's a hit and run, right? So you're changing and adjusting, and it's raining and you're wet and the whole thing, and it's late, and then the guy gets picked off, and you're still here, calm.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's what you try to practice. You try to practice it. You try to practice and put them in game situations where things are hard and things are fast, and you make it. It's hard. That's the hardest thing about baseball is you really can't practice at game speed because different players process things. The same player can process the same play 3 different days in a row at a different speed. And how do you duplicate that? Well, you try to discuss. I always try to tell my guys, like, what did you see? Tell me what you saw. And I give them a slow down, talk. What do you see? What did you see? And then we react. And then we talk about how to fix it. And so many times, everybody wants to get the job done. I go, your problem number one is control your breathing. You can control you. Control the controllables. Baseball has been saying it for years. Control the things you can control. What can you control? I can control my demeanor. I can control my breathing, and I can control my process. And the quicker you do that, the quicker you will be the guy that gets the game-winning hit more times than not.
That's great. That's good stuff there. So one of the players that you played with in that was on the roster at one point, Dave Roberts, right? He was on the Olympic roster. I don't think he made the 24. He didn't go, right?
Right.
But he ends up being on the Red Sox with you when you win the World Series. He's coaching now. He wins the World Series as a coach. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome. And Dave, I will say this: I play with Dave in Boston. I got to play with him on a Double-A All-Star team once, so I knew of him. And we get traded. He gets traded to Boston, and I was really having a bad year. I think I had 240. It wasn't great. I was coming off a major wrist surgery, and it just didn't feel good. And I remember Dave, and he was trying to talk to me about like slowing the game down. And he's like, all right, I want you to do something for me. And he said, when you drive to the park, drive slower. When you eat in the morning, eat slower. When you're talking, talk slower. He's like, do everything that you normally do, but slow down. And he's like, his analogy was when you're lost in a car and you miss the turn, you turn around and go 90 miles an hour back because you already missed a turn. You end up missing it again, right? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And he's like, slow down. So it's something that always stuck with me. So like when I watch his post-game press conferences, and I'm just like, he's still the same guy. Like you can tell, you can see in his teams that he has told this story, and they control. Like the team that's under control is the team that can be the aggressor. His teams don't react; they press, they keep coming, and they realize I'm never out of the fight. And like last year, the World Series, they're down 5-0 against Garrett Cole. You think everybody and their brother thinks they're going, and like all it takes is one. All it takes is a spark, and you can tell that they never thought they were out of the fight. And that's something that doesn't just happen overnight. It's a process, but you can tell that it's always the teams that you see that they really enjoy working together. They really enjoy going to work. They enjoy playing with each other. Those are the teams that you can tell that they're down 6 in the 7th. There's no panic in them.
So talking about comebacks, this gets us to your World Series victory. You win the World Series. You guys sweep the Red Sox. All right, so it's the 100th World Series, right? 86-year curse finally lifted. That of course, I'm a Yankee fan, right, Coach?
Yes, I know. Yes, I know.
So anyway, just throwing this out there, the whole curse because they gave up the bid to the Yankees. But anyhow, what was winning the World Series like? You catch the last out of the World Series, you're in that dog pile. Does it hurt to be in the bottom of a dog pile, Coach?
That's the first thing you don't want to do is be at the bottom of it.
Okay.
I've been lucky that every dog pile I was ever a part of, I've never made it in the bottom. I always held my ground. The closest I came was Westminster. I jumped in the arms of the pitcher, and I kind of was getting pushed back. And I remember I thankfully caught my feet, so I wasn't underneath there. So every time I've managed to be on top, not on the bottom, which is a really smart move.
Okay.
But Boston was cool because, I mean, it's never been done before. Our guys, the same thing I just talked about. Our guys were different. We'd meet 18 guys strong at breakfast on the road, and that never happens. That happens. Like that team was close as close could be. Me, Dave Roberts, Orlando Cabrera, all the guys that got brought over at the deadline, they did a fantastic job of making us feel like one of them the second we got there. that team did a great job of, it didn't matter how small you thought your job was, every guy made it feel important. No job's too small. It didn't go unnoticed. I mean, we talk about, one instance, 1 millisecond changed history. There's something about like something simple like even stealing a base. It's easy to steal a base in on a Wednesday night in February, in June, right? No, like knowing that you're pinch running and knowing everybody in the world knows you're going.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little different. So I remember sitting there because I was kind of grabbing a bat and getting ready to go on deck, and they sent Dave out there, and Dave looked at Tito, and Tito just winked at him, like nice and calm, just gave him a little wink, and they knew exactly what that meant. Like, come on, Bubba, like this is why we brought you here, and you got to go. And Dave has the right passion, demeanor, aggression. He knows I was brought here to do one thing, and that was that I still say it's definitely not underscored of what he did, but I don't think it's understood enough of how hard that is to sit there for 4.5 hours in cold weather. Granted, you can go in the clubhouse and stretch all you want, but hey, Dave slips an inch. Dave is a split second too late. History's over. Like, we'll never know. Posada puts the ball a little bit to the middle of the second base, maybe a little bit to the shortstop side, and that's all it took. And that's, like I said, to know you're going, it just worked out. Dave steals second. Kevin gets the 4-pitch walk. Mo never walks people, especially in October. He walks the leadoff guy. We got Dave Roberts on the bench. He steals second. We got the right guy at the plate, and Billy Miller, who's the only guy who's somewhat any successful against Mo. I'm on deck. I gave Joe Torre shit for years going, you know what? Like, I was on deck. I still haven't got a hit off Mariano Rivera. And the next night,
Really?
the next night, David's hitting and he gets the walk-off single against Esteban Loaiza. I'm on deck. Like, when I played for him in 2007, I go, Skip, why didn't you walk him? And I had really good numbers against Loaiza, so he had some backing there. But I was like, man, they should have fired you on the spot for pitching to David and not me. That's crazy talk, Joe. So no, but it just shows you the beauty of baseball. Something like that, so bang bang, could change history.
And that's why I love baseball so much. There's so much joy in baseball, and people say it's boring, and I'm like, no, you're missing the game.
Right.
There's so many little moments that make up the big moment, right? Like moving the guy over, or stealing a base, or
everybody wants to think about what happens at the end of the game, but I always told our teams, games are won and lost in moments. It could be the second inning, could be the first inning, could be the fourth inning. It could be a double play ball you didn't turn that cost your starter 15 more pitches, and now you got to go into the pen an inning early, and you run out of outs at the end. Look, Jacob gets through the sixth inning, fifth inning. We knew Vinny was a 2-inning guy. Vinny had to go back out there. Vinny for 2 innings was lights out. And we knew that going in, that those 1 or 2 outs or 1 or 2 pitches that add up, that people just think that error didn't cost him anything. Well, yes, it does.
Yeah, it comes back.
Yes, it does. Yeah, those pitches add up, and so little things like that you can watch a game and think it's boring, or you can watch a game and think it's the most mentally grinding event you've ever thought. I remember playing playoff games and sitting in my locker after a game and like not talking for 20 minutes, just being like, I need a minute. Like, I have to sit there. Like, my head hurts. Like, I have a headache. Thinking my brain's been on high alert for 4 hours at an intense level that I don't know if I can do this again tomorrow. And then you wake up and you go to the field the next day and you find a way to get through it again. But those games in Boston were, I will say this, the Yankees series almost made, and no disrespect to the Cardinals, it was almost anticlimactic. The games in St. Louis were actually boring.
I was gonna say that, and not just because I'm a Yankee fan, but that American League Championship Series, you guys are down 3-0, and that is the comeback, right? And so there was so much drama and excitement, and it's the Yankees and the Red Sox, and then you guys end up sweeping the Cardinals.
I remember leaving Fenway Park after we lost 19-8 or whatever it was. And I remember driving home. I saw a group of 6 men, 50-year-old men, walking together, and all 6 of them were crying. And I remember thinking to myself, like, driving home, I was like, we know what we're up against. We know it doesn't look good. But I remember thinking, like, man, I really wish I cared that much about something that I have no control over. But that was the epitome. Like, we saw grown men crying, like, it's not over yet. And I remember we walk in the clubhouse the next day going, look, this place hasn't won a championship in 86 years. If they think we're going to do it the conventional way, y'all are crazy.
Good point.
That was, not only did it happen then, but I mean, the Yankees hadn't lost 4 games in a row in, I don't know, 3 years. And we knew that. And, we knew looking across what we were up against, but we just thought, hey, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And Dave steals that base, and Dave's not out. Dave's safe. Billy singles, and here we go. And then you never know. And that was the one thing Terry Francona I took from Terry was win today. That's all he kept saying. Win today. If you think about winning 4 games in a row, it's almost undaunting, right? You can't do it. It's almost impossible. But he's like, just win today. And we come back, you win today. And you can win today. You just got to do it 4 times. We've done that all year. That kind of, I took that from Terry Francona to be able to, I feel like, and no disrespect to the other managers I played for, he was the only guy at that time with that team could have pulled that off.
Yeah, all the pieces there come together. For same thing with that Olympic team that you mentioned. It had to be those guys in that moment to make it happen.
That story, we needed Tom Lasorda there for a reason. Phil Regan was our pitching coach. I played for Phil in winter ball a year prior, actually, a winter prior. So I had some history with him. They gave us strict rules on pitch counts for those guys.
I was reading that in the book.
And it's like the 7th inning, I think, maybe the 8th. I think we're the visitors, so we're at the top of the 8th. And I remember Phil Regan had a pitch clicker in his hand, and he kept showing Tommy. He's like, Tommy, look, like bumping him, like, look. And he kept doing it. And Tommy Tommy finally looked at it, and he looked at it. He ripped it from Phil Regan's hand, and he spiked it on the ground. And it went in 58 pieces. And he goes, I'll handle the Brewers tomorrow. I'm not taking this kid out of the game. And I looked at Tommy, and I'm like, I go, you're a bad MFer. I go, that's why you're the greatest of all time, Skip. And I gave him knuckles. And I'm like, we're pulling this shit off. Like, I remember that today. That goes yesterday. Like, Phil was a worrywart, right? He's the pitching coach. It's going to be his ass. And Tommy just pulled that thing from him and spiked it, and it blew up. And he's like, we'll apologize tomorrow with a gold medal around our neck. And I was like, hell yeah, Skip, let's do this thing.
That's good. And that's what they said, that getting Lasorda was really important because he had the respect to, work with the other teams and say, okay, we'll take care of your guy and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. Just not tonight.
Yeah, just not tonight. Like you said, win tonight, win this game, right?
We'll apologize tomorrow morning.
Yeah. So we're going back to the Olympics real quick. No other team we've never won a gold medal. That's the only time we won a gold medal. 2028, the baseball is coming back.
LA.
And the Olympics is going to be in LA. So you talk about having a vision. I had a vision last night. Any chance you're part of that team? Can you coach that team for us?
I would love to manage that team. I would love to be a coach on that team, or I'd love to broadcast those games. I keep putting my name in, and I do the EU national team every year. They know.
Okay.
They know.
Like, I got the chills right now.
They had Ernie Young, our right fielder, who had a really big hit for us in that gold medal game. He was the hitting coach for I think 2024, whenever the last one was. He was the hitting coach for that team. So we kind of joke around, the guys on the team, because we toast each other every year on the same day. We toast each other via FaceTime. We all get a little shot and cheers each other. So we always say, like, it's time to get the band back together one more time, and let's do this thing again. And we would just do it with a little more gray hair or less hair than we had back in 2000.
Like the 72 Dolphins, right? The only undefeated team, and they celebrate.
Yep.
That's special to be part of a team like that. There's just a few men, all the players that have ever played, Coach. You're one of a few. That's incredible. Well, like I said, I had a vision that you're part of that somehow.
I hope your vision comes true. That'd be great.
Hey,
I love that
and
vision.
I'll be rooting for you. I got this hat special for you. I went and had this hat made special for you. I'll be wearing that hat in 2028. For sure. Man, let me look at my notes here. So I want to make sure this conversation has been wonderful.
That's awesome.
As a baseball fan, to have the opportunity to just talk and hear you tell all these stories, it's
Trust
amazing.
me, anybody for a conch, especially you guys, I said it before, but I'll say it again. You guys are what makes that place so special. It's great. Our kids love it. I know the little care bag you gave Steele, he cherishes it and he loves it. He took it with him. These things, like what you guys do for those boys, it makes their life, and they talk about it all the time, and it makes the place really special. And like, we can't thank you guys enough for the support you guys give them, and how much it means to look up there. And there, I trust me, last year there were a lot of nights we really needed you when we didn't give you much to cheer for, but you guys always had our back, and for sure you guys helped us win a heck of a lot of games that we probably shouldn't have won. It was because of you guys, I'm just so grateful that my son got to put that jersey on.
We are too. Thank you for sharing that. You made me cry again. Please let him know that I asked for him, and like I said, we talk about him. His name comes up still. It always will. And let him know that I'm rooting for him, keeping track of him.
He knows. He knows. He can feel you guys. Even if he don't say it, he feels you guys. And that's what true fans, when you feel them, you guys are real. And as I said, we're grateful for you guys.
That means everything, Coach. And I think I wanna read something from the book. And we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I asked you earlier about what it takes to be a champion, and you gave me a good answer. And this is what Coach Tommy Lasorda said about you after you hit the big home run to get us into the gold medal game. He said, "It was pure joy. Before his at bat, Doug and I had a talk, and he said, 'Skip, I'll do whatever it takes for us to win the game.' He's never thought about his individual accomplishments this whole time. Just the team and winning. That's the kind of champion you are, Coach."
That's the way. I mean, I was raised by we always joke around. I was raised by wolves. I was raised by my dad, my mom. My dad was really hard on me, but my household, winning was not fun. Winning was expected, and that's just kind of the way I was raised. And it was always team first. I was a Larry Bird guy. I just team, and if the team does well, you do well, and that's usually how it goes. And Jack at Florida State was the same way. It was it's about us. It's all us, and it's not about me. It's us, and that's just the way. I need you like you need me, and that's the way it goes. I like Tommy. I'll be forever grateful for Tommy because he did so much for me personally, mentally, and so many talks we had. 11, same thing. So many talks that we had that really molded me as a man. And Tommy, I was in a dark place after '99, and Tommy was. I remember he pulled me aside and he goes, "You can hit. Like, what's the problem?" And I explained it to him word for word, and we sat down and had dinner. And from that moment on, I knew that I knew of him. I knew he was special, but he really wanted to figure me out. And I still use those moments to this day as a coach. I need to figure out what makes each kid tick before baseball. And I think that's where Tommy got me. And Tommy understood. And when you get when you're a player and you realize that coach cares about me as a person, that player will run through a burning building for you. And I think that's the legacy of, I think it's at 17, right? Like,
yeah,
I was heartbroken as a coach. Like, I wanted to bring 17 a championship. Like, that still guts me. And I didn't even play. But like, for men like that, and not just coaches, for men like that, you want, like I said, for 11, Coach Martin, the list goes on and on. Joe Torre, I'll run through traffic with my hair on fire for him. Just because that's how much he meant to me. And that's, you play for the guys that you respect the most. And that's the bottom line. I learned how to respect my opponent, respect the game, and respect who's running the show. And that's pretty much the way I was raised. And that's winning. Winning's supposed to happen. I always say, people use the word pressure. I don't believe in the word pressure. Pressure creeps into the unprepared. I was never unprepared. So everything wasn't a shock. So my dad prepared me, my parents prepared me, and now it's just I've seen the movie before. I just got to replay it, and that's kind of how that's what got me by. It wasn't physical ability; it was mental ability. I always say this to every team I ever coach: I don't know if I'll make you physically better, but I know I'll make you mentally tougher. And at the end of the day, the mentally tough ones are the ones that survive, whether it's in baseball or whether it's in life. And that's kind of like that was our team last year. We had a bunch of young kids, and they weren't real mentally tough in the beginning. But 17 and Ralphie and Jack and I beaten on them a little bit. And it might not have been pretty during it. Parents might not have liked it, but my job is to make you mentally tougher. So when the shit hits the fan, can you respond? And at the end, they responded. So I'm not going to change whether they're young kids or old kids or big leaguers or the middle school team. That's just the way. That's the way I've seen it work too many times, and that's how I'm always going to be.
It worked out well for you. You've been a champion.
I said I've been in the right place at the right time a lot of times, and I've had a hell of a lot of good teammates that helped me along the way. And I had two parents that supported me from day one that put my life in front of theirs, and for that I'm forever grateful.
Well, I'm grateful that our paths crossed, Coach. So much respect.
Absolutely.
You've got a great story, and I appreciate you sharing it with me. It means the world.
Anytime.
And I hope you and Madison come back to the Rex. We've got a few games left.
We're coming. I said I expect to be down there more than I was. I'm trying to help out the kids up here.
I understand.
And trust me, we watch it on Game Changer.
Okay.
And we put it on we trust me, and I would get kind of yelled at sometimes, like, who's texting you at 11:30? I'm like, it's just Ralphie. I mean, and we would be up till 12, 12:30, 1 o'clock every night, and it hasn't stopped. Whether my kid's there or not, we still text. We still text incessantly. 7 o'clock in the morning. Jacks are more at 6:30, 6:15 in the morning. Retired life has got them up early, but like Ralphie and I will talk. We talk about the guys every day. We've been talking throughout the course of the fall to now. So
good.
I might not be there in person. I'm still in spirit and in helping and trying to help and fixing. I always got Ralphie. Ralphie can always lean on me. We lean on each other to help and fix these and help.
No, I told Crush the other day, I said, once a champ, always a champ, and once a conk, always a conk. I seen you rocking that KW all over the place.
All over.
I was like, that's conk pride right there. That's awesome.
When the place cares as much as y'all do, it's easy to rep.
Very good. I'm glad we had a big impression on you. And if you ever do get back to the Rex, please come sit with me and the crew.
100%.
At least one inning, you got to hang some Ks with me,
I'm
Coach.
going to hang a K up. That's what I said before I did this. I said, I'm going to hang a K with Joy. I have to do it before. I'm going to do it this year. I'm going to go sit up there. I'm going to hang a K with you.
Please do. Then your baseball career, you got a gold medal, a World Series, and a K.
And then it's complete. I got you. That's a definite. That's a promise.
Oh, I hope you do, Coach. Thank you for talking to me and sharing your story with everybody.
Of course. Anytime for you.
Thank you, Coach.
All right.
I'm Joy Newlish, and I appreciate you tuning into my podcast. My purpose is to bring joy into my life and the lives of others. If you enjoyed this episode, drop a review, share, and subscribe because there's a lot of good stuff on tap. You can also follow Bring Joy on YouTube and Instagram, or check my website at joynewlish.com. Now go bring joy to the people in your world. Until next time, much love.